Hey everybody, it's Chainsaw Reacts back once again with another video for you guys. Today I want to talk about this potential Wonder Woman prequel show that the CW was developing at a time called Amazon. I had no idea this was even a thing until yesterday when I saw an article being posted from over at Geeks Worldwide, and they posted about this. And it's under this new thing they're doing called Almost History, where they're going through basically unproduced shows and movies and stuff like that, and they covered and they're revealing more details about what this show would have been essentially. And if the show actually happened back in the day around 2012, 2013, they were trying to get it all fixed and trying to make it an actual show, the Arrowverse would have been drastically different. I definitely want to talk about this. So I will link the article in the top of the description. If you guys want to go read the whole thing, I'll be reading snippets throughout and just giving my thoughts about how this could have really shaped and changed the Arrowverse, and really, I think it could have been an interesting show, so let's get into it. So firstly, as I mentioned, it says here that the CW's Amazon, a Wonder Woman prequel show, would have been a series akin to like Smallville and Gotham. So essentially, we would see Diana, but it wouldn't be her becoming Wonder Woman essentially until the very end, which is interesting, because around the time that Arrow was actually off the ground and actually airing, it was, of course, a prequel leading up to him being the Green Arrow, which happens in the show. I wonder if they would have made an alteration, too, in terms of, like, it's kind of like Smallville and Gotham, where she's not Wonder Woman yet, but she becomes Wonder Woman within the show itself, and it's still continuing past that point. I'm curious about that. But, yeah, so there was two different runs at the pilot, essentially, in 2012, September 2012, and spring of 2013. In this Almost History segment they're covering here, we'll be focusing on the second version that they tried, because they really wanted to do this, because, you know, usually when they go to doing a potential pilot script-wise or whatever, and they're trying to make it a show, you know, usually it's one go and that's it, and they move on and they don't really come back to it. They tried twice to get this thing made. So let's jump into it and read more about what this second iteration of this pilot would have been for this potential show. Okay, so I'm going to read this paragraph here that goes into some interesting details about what the show could have been. And honestly, after reading this paragraph alone, I really wanted to see this take on the show, but that's just me. So anyways, let's read here. It was described to me as a darker take on the Wonder Woman mythos with an Alias vibe. I'm guessing Alias is a show, not really sure. About a young woman trying to save the world from an international conspiracy. A young Diana Prince would have been the lead character with Hippolyta. Is that how you pronounce that? I'm not really sure. I'm bad with names, so don't kill me. And other Amazons featuring. So, not really too specific there except for the one name. Diana would have been curious about the world outside and yearned to see it, which leads her to rebelling against her mother, ultimately being a major defining event for her character. The series would have also shown how brutal and stringent life on Themyscira could be, which I think that's pretty interesting. So they would have done basically what the movie kind of did, where she rebelled and she went off with Steve Trevor instead of staying on Themyscira. But essentially, we'd also see how brutal it is on Themyscira. So, and they also had Themyscira as a little bit of a little Easter egg, essentially, on Legends of Tomorrow. So, you know, I feel like, you know, that was their kind of way of kind of hinting at, you know, it is out there. We just never got to see the show, unfortunately. Now, ultimately, the reason why they passed on this, why the CW passed on this potential show, says here the CW was not a fan of the darker take, as they wanted something more in line with Ron Howard's Splash about a young, naive girl who was just beginning to understand the world. So, okay, they weren't a fan of the darker take, but yet you took Arrow dark, and it was really successful. Now, I'm not saying that the Wonder Woman dark path essentially would have been a better choice or a darker take on the telling of Diana becoming Wonder Woman. I don't know if it would work or not. I don't know, because I haven't seen it. But for me, I would like to potentially see what it could have been, you know what I'm saying? Now, doing some more research, because I'm like, is this even legit? So I was like, you know, like, because you just never know, because, you know, you could be, you fed some BS. I mean, I did a video about, we got this covered, and they literally feed you dog shit all the time, because they lie all the time. So I looked back, and there was articles from Variety and stuff like that and other places saying that the show was being worked on, it got axed. And then I also read, too, that Jeff Johns, at one point, I'm not really sure where he said this, in an interview or somewhere, I'm not really sure, but apparently Jeff Johns hinted, didn't say, but hinted that Wonder Woman could appear on Arrow because it takes place in the same universe. That leads me to a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions now because of that statement. Oh my gosh. So what I really wanted to get to with this video, kind of explaining all this, is with that statement saying that, hinting Wonder Woman could appear on Arrow, that would have drastically changed the Arrowverse as we know it. If this show would have been made, it would have been taking place in the same universe as Arrow, which means that potentially the trinity of the Arrowverse would not have been Green Arrow, Flash, and Supergirl. It would have been Green Arrow, the Flash, and Wonder Woman. That's very interesting. That's a huge change. And with Wonder Woman involved, it means you have a lot more characters. Like, they even teased Cheetah at one point on The Flash. Like, they had a cell with all these different villains and stuff, and Cheetah was one of the names. So, you know, Wonder Woman is out there. I think she's out there in the Arrowverse. But with this kind of hinting, it's interesting. It really is, because it would have drastically changed so much in terms of crossovers, in terms of characters interacting with each other. And I don't know. I'm really curious. Man, if I can go back in time and somehow convince them to actually just go with it. Because even if the show doesn't work, at least you got a couple episodes or a season out of it. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, it's fine. I'm reading through here. It says, in the end, the CW didn't end up making it. And the 2017, of course, feature with Gal Gadot. I think even at one point, Mark Pedowitz, I think there was like something I read too, where he was asked around 2017 if, like, would you ever attempt Amazon again as a show? And he says no, the movie was successful. And I doubt they would even let them use the character at this point. So they had a shot. They had 2 shots, and they both passed on it. So I felt like the CW should have maybe just went with it. But maybe it was for the better. Maybe having a dark take on Wonder Woman maybe would not have been the right decision. But they had 2 different versions, and they tried it twice, and it didn't work. So what do you guys think of this potential show? If it would have happened, I mean, it would have, like I said, drastically changed everything that we know about the Arrowverse. Would you have been okay with it? Would you have liked a darker take of Wonder Woman, or would you have preferred what the CW wanted, which is in terms of a lighter tone and more in the vein of whatever Ron Howard's Splash is, about a young naive girl who was just beginning to understand the world? I don't know. I mean, it's a young Diana, so I get the point of trying to go in a little bit of a lighter direction, but who knows? I mean, because the whole point about having a brutal, like how brutal it was to be on Themyscira, I think that, I mean, if you're going with that angle, then yeah, I mean, it would be a darker take. But whatever thoughts you have, let me know in the comment section below, guys, what you think about this potential show, and if it would have actually happened, would you have watched it? Would you have liked a darker take or lighter take? Whatever thoughts you have, let me know in the comment section below, guys. Talk to you guys soon.